And we're live. Welcome back to the Republic of Arsenal. And today we are going to be looking ahead to Sunday's game between Arsenal and Leeds at the Emirates Stadium. It's a 4:30 kickoff. Even more controversially, it's Valentine's Day. So if you can get out to watch the game, lads, you're doing well. So, you know, tell herself that Valentine's might have to be postponed until Monday because you don't want to miss this game. So today I'm joined by a panel and I'm delighted to have, I've got Paul, who's a Leeds fan. So, Paul, thanks so much for giving us a bit of time here today.
No problem. Thank you for the invitation.
No problem at all. And then I'm joined by my fellow Gooner Sulz. So, Sulz, you're here to give me a little bit of backup here today. So, great to have you.
A pleasure being here.
And again, the man, the myth, the legend, the one they call Squidger. How's things, bud?
All good in the hood now. Looking forward to this one.
Now, a few people would recognise Squidger. Squidger's been on with me a couple of times, and I know there's people sitting here thinking, what's a Chelsea fan doing on the panel here? There's a couple of reasons. Obviously, one, he brings the good looks to the channel.
Oh, yeah.
Two, he brings the bants. He's the most popular man. He gets the chat.
I'm Leeds all my life. I said it all the time.
He's actually, he doesn't like to admit it, but we're going to get it out of him here today. He's actually a closet Leeds fan.
Oh, so, I'm not even closet. I'm out. I'm out the closet.
It's like every good football fan is a Leeds fan waiting to get out. You know that, don't you?
Oh, 100%.
You two are but it's coming. It's coming your way. You'll have it by the end of the season.
I agree with you there.
So look, I'm going to start basically, Paul. I'm going to throw this out to you at the start. And look, as an Arsenal fan, myself and Sulz will tell you, and I'm sure any Arsenal fan would, we are the most up and down roller coaster of a club to support. They've given us some great moments, but my God, have they given us some heartbreak over the years, and they're still doing it. But no more so than a Leeds fan. Like, you have seen it all. You've been put through the absolute mill over even just the last 20 years being a Leeds fan. Like what has that been like?
It's been torture. But you must remember, Squidger, you'll know this yourself. 11 years of that was under Ken Bates. Yeah. You know, and Ken Bates didn't do anything for the club.
No,
he took everything out of the club, but he put nothing back in. Like nearly every player that came into Leeds during his time was a loan player, you know, and that in itself was hard enough to even to go over to games, you know, not just the Championship, but League One, you know. And I think the greatest day was in, you know, getting out of League One in 2010 and back to the Championship, you know.
Yeah.
And then you come so close to promotion. Then he sold to GFH, a bankrupt Saudi company, you know, and you were in trouble again.
Yeah.
You know, and then we got Cellino, the mad Italian, change manager, man after manager, and that was another bad spot. But I think the fortunes of Leeds changed when Gary Monk came in, to be honest with you. You know,
yeah.
You look at the players that Gary Monk brought in, they're Premiership players now.
Yeah.
You know, it's Pablo, Luke, Aileen, look, Cooper, Dallas. You know, these players come in. So a lot of these players are 5 years at the club now, you know, 4 to 5 years. Yeah. And that's a big thing, keeping that squad together, you know. Yeah. And that's where the fortunes changed. I think Gary Monk got a lot of fans back into Elland Road. Mm. And then Thomas Christensen came, you know, he was sacked, you know, halfway through the season. Then Paul Higginbottom came, and he finished the season, and a lot of fans were saying, give him another year.
Yeah. And
then out of the blue, then arrived Bielsa. And then everything changed, you know. But Like, what has he done? Like, well, he's filled Eldon Road again, you know. You can't get tickets now for games, you know.
Yeah.
Even if we were going to games now, you'd struggle to get a ticket. Even for fellas like myself that sat in the ground there on a Saturday afternoon with 11, 12, 13, 14,000 in it, you know. And, like, you know, you don't get a good FA Cup run because they bow out of it early, and then they, you know, there's always, you know, look at Crawley Town this year beating a Premiership team, like it's supposed to be a Premiership team. But it's taken 16 years to get back to the Premiership. But at least they've come and they've lit it up, you know. They've come to the party. That's all we can say. The first game,
100%.
Look at the first game against Liverpool. Liverpool didn't score from open play against us.
No.
You know, 2 corners and 2 penalties.
Leeds are brilliant. Leeds are brilliant in that game.
Brilliant. And I think people stood up and took notice of Leeds that day. Yeah. You know, said it was going to be him. We're currently, speaking of Arsenal, all right, we're currently sitting 10th in the Premiership. And we're just above Arsenal, you know. Now, if you check the goal difference of teams, your goal difference is +4, and ours is 0-0. So what's tomorrow's game going to bring, you know?
Yeah.
You know, added to bringing Nketiah into the party as well. Leeds fans still fondly remember Nketiah, you know. Eddie had a good spell at Leeds. I saw him play myself. You know, I actually loved the kid. You know, I was just saying he didn't finish the season with us. You know, he deserved that.
No, that's actually great to hear because like Nketiah has come under a lot of fire with the Arsenal fans, and I've always been a great believer that, you know, he's still young. He's very talented. He just needs a good run in the side. He needs a manager that trusts him. And unfortunately, Arsenal fans being Arsenal fans, and Sulz, I'm sure you'll back me on this one, we can be the most impatient fan base. We want results now. We don't seem to be willing to afford these guys, you know, enough time to develop. What do you make on the Nketiah situation there?
I think the issue is what Balogun's done in the 15-minute spells he's had in the Europa League. I feel like if Balogun didn't come on and make instant impacts and actually get man-of-the-match performances in 15 minutes or like 20 minutes or so, we probably wouldn't be sat here criticising Nketiah too much. I feel like Nketiah is one of those players who doesn't suit the way people set up against Arsenal. Like a Leeds, for example, you're probably going to be seeing a lot more people set up a higher line because they're not a Premier League team, for example. So you're probably going to see a lot more space being made for him. He's a player who plays on pace. Yeah. And we're not a team that have, well, recently we have in the last sort of, I'd say 8-9 games, we've started to have this high intensity pace, you know, game. And that would suit Nketiah or a Martinelli or even an Aubameyang. But the problem is the way we've been set up is very lethargic and slow, and that doesn't really suit a player like an Nketiah.
Yeah, 100%. No, definitely agree with you. And as you were saying there, like we are starting to kind of change it around. We're starting to deal with the high intensity, and there's no more team more intense than Leeds. Squidger, that Leeds, the high intensity, high pressure. It's.
I love it. I actually love watching Leeds. It's one of the games I get excited for at the weekend. Like it's, do you know what I mean? And I think no matter who you support, I think anyone can say it that they've enjoyed watching Leeds this season. Yeah, the high pressure, like the way Bielsa has them set up, the way and everyone every week it's like, oh, they're going to run out of steam. They're going to, you know, because they're 100% every game, and there seems to be no let up from them at all. I actually seen them live a couple of times last season against Middlesbrough and against Cardiff. They were 3-0 up against Cardiff at half-time, and Cardiff came back and drew 3-3. It was at that game. And obviously they came back and drew 3-3, but the effort and the non-stop from Leeds all the time, it's just go. It's so good to watch. I love it.
I think something not a lot of people know at Leeds United at the minute, but you know, in all football clubs, you have a manager who's also the manager and a coach, and you have an assistant coach. You have all. Well, what Bielsa has brought to Leeds, he's brought 5 more coaches with him. So there's 6 coaches working with Leeds. So instead of 2 coaches working with 30, 35 players, you have 1 coach to every 5 or 6 players at Leeds. And coming with that is so much fitness training, you know, there's so much on the ball training, it's just constant. The videos of it are widely available there now on YouTube to see. And that's the difference he's brought, And people say we'll run out of steam. As you see, the 93rd minute, you could see 6 Leeds players in your penalty area from one quick attack out of the box, That's how good they are, And that's all credit to what Bielsa has done with the club and the players,
Yeah.
But looking ahead to tomorrow, like Arsenal have the players with the pace that can actually hurt us when we push up the pitch. Even Bellerin himself. I love watching Bellerin with the ball. He's a great man at coming forward. One pass can split. And with Calvin Phillips being missing tomorrow, if he's missing, he's injured at the minute.
Yeah.
If he's missing,
he's big.
Yeah. And then again, you're up against a young defender there, Pascal Struijk, right? Now, normally he fills Calvin's role, but in the last few games, it doesn't work for him. And if he was to fill that position tomorrow and he got a yellow card, he's off straight away. Bielsa will take him out, and who do you put in there, So, tomorrow should be a good game.
Yeah, well, speaking of players missing, now it looks like we're without Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney. That's going to be absolutely massive. Whatever about Thomas Partey, he's just impenetrable when he's on form in the middle of the park. He seems to be, to me, he's one of the most naturally press-resistant players I've seen. Obviously, Messi's got to be number one, but looking at Thomas Partey, he's just so good, so calm. I'm definitely not confident with Granit Xhaka and maybe Ceballos, El Neni. We still don't know who's going to be there, so I think that's going to be huge. But in attacking sense, Kieran Tierney, I don't think Kieran Tierney gets the credit. He certainly does from the Arsenal fans, but definitely I've noticed from rival fans, he definitely doesn't get the respect. I think rival fans need to really sit down and watch a full 90 minutes to see what Kieran Tierney actually brings to the Arsenal team. This is where I'm a little bit on the fence, because Bukayo Saka has obviously been our best attacking threat this season. I've been a bit critical of Arteta when he has made a few changes and he's put Bukayo Saka at left back. I'm thinking tomorrow, maybe run with Bukayo Saka left back. What do you reckon, Sulz? Maybe he might give us that attacking threat back.
I'm not wanting to rub salt in the wound of Leeds fans, but if you look at how Ollie set up against them and beat them, was it 5-2, I believe, or 6-2 or something? Yeah. That's how we need to set up. We need to go in with direct pace. We don't need to look at technical ability against Leeds. We need to be looking at how we're going to get behind them, because they are going to attack and attack and attack. They don't defend. They don't sit back. They never do. And I think Ollie's proven that if you go in there, because he put Dan James in that game, and Dan James isn't a baller of quality or anything. Yeah. And that's why I do agree to an extent we could be putting Saka at left back, because he is going to offer us not only defensive work, but he can also go up. And that'll be 2 wingers in a sense we can have up top. And the way that we've started to deploy Pepe as like an inverted winger, he's been cutting in a lot. So it'll give him the width of a Saka, which is what Kearney tends to offer, with Pepe coming into the middle, making a 2. And then obviously whoever's playing on the right. Also, are we getting into the teams like what our starting 11s are going to be, or we just?
Well, we might make those predictions a little bit later, but it just.
Yeah. But because the way I think that we need to set up against the Leeds to fully exploit them is having Xhaka and a Martin Odegaard as the 2 pivots. And then having a Smith Rowe, or even Smith Rowe as the 8, and then having Martin Odegaard further up. I mean, they can always interchange. Because what United did brilliantly, well, it was kind of forced because they had an injury to, I believe it was McTominay or Matic or someone got an injury early on and they brought Pogba on. What Bruno and Pogba do really well is the long-range passing. And that's all we need to do. We don't need to play a technical, tactical football. We just need to play it smart. And all we need to do is make looping passes over, because Saka's got pace, Martinelli or Aubameyang have pace. Depending on the formation and the way we set up, that's what we need to be doing, is getting in behind rather than playing around them.
Yeah, well, like I said, Paul, go ahead.
I think that's a very valid point. And I think when you go back to the way Manchester United set themselves up against us, most of their attacking came through the centre of midfield. It wasn't from the wings, It was It was just one quick backheel pass in the middle of the pitch, and they came straight through. And that's the thing about Leeds. Leeds will let you run at them, you know. And
they want you to run at them.
Yeah, Leeds let you run at them. You see, this is the thing. So when you look at Leeds, we can have possession there for 5 minutes. But you look at teams that play against us, they can go from their 18-yard line to our 18-yard line in 3 passes. That's what we need to stop out. You know, we need to stop that out. You know, and that's what Arsenal will hurt us tomorrow. You know, now the thing about it is, you're talking about your left back position there and your right back position, right? The one thing you have to watch on the Leeds United right tomorrow is Rafinha. You know, because you know, if you look at him so far this season, you know, he'll get goals. You know, he won't get a lot of goals. He won't score in every game, but he'll be involved in every goal we score.
He seems to have the full package, Rafinha. He's work rate, he's everything. He seems to have
you know, so you gotta have it, like, you know. You don't Premier League, you know.
And he only caught, was it 16 million, Paul?
15 million, 17.
Like, that's in this day and age, that's a steal for a player of that quality. Like, you really get it. Like.
Reports now, Liverpool are looking for them, like, you know, already. You know,
let them off.
Yeah, no, he was very good against us last. Was it his debut against us? Did he make his debut against us, Rafinha?
No, he came. He could have. He made these. Yeah, he came in around the end of August there that time. So he did. Before the transfer market closed that time, you know.
Yeah.
There for the 1-1 draw.
Yeah, no, he was dangerous against.
Where did he come from? I'm trying to think.
Saint NTN, or was it Saint something?
Oh, like, it wasn't Rennes or something, was it?
Rennes. I think it was. But he was told I don't think Leeds were looking for him. I think he was told he's going to Leeds, or he was getting sold to Leeds.
Victor Arthur went for him. Victor Arthur looked. Yeah. As far as I know, Victor Arthur looked for him. Yeah.
They sold him for 2 million less than what they paid for him. Something like that.
You know, certain players are suited to a certain league, you know, and you know, he's lighting up the Premiership at the minute, you know. And where do you think, will David Luiz play tomorrow?
I hope so, from the Leeds point of view.
Do you know what? I think David Luiz does get a lot of stick, you know, for what he has done for Arsenal as well. We can't forget that, you know, after the City game last season, when the restart happened, he actually was one of our better defenders. I don't know whether the issue with Arsenal is we never know whether people are playing for a contract or they're genuinely that good. But it's
definitely with David Luiz. What I noticed was when David Luiz isn't in the team, funny enough, we kind of lose a bit of an attacking sort of option. Like, again, David Luiz,
I wouldn't be opposed to him coming into the midfield next to Xhaka.
Oh, you know what? I've been saying this since last season, because he's obviously not the quickest and he does have a mistake, but he's a good passer. He's a good ball carrier. Probably takes a little bit too much time. I just think he'd probably do a little bit less damage when he does make his David Luiz bloopers. If he's making them,
I think against Leeds as well. David Luiz isn't a player you want against Leeds either.
It's definitely not.
I actually think Bamford could have a good day against David Luiz. You know, I think he's the kind of player that, you know, as you said, Anthony, there is a mistake always in David Luiz. There always is.
You know what? Not just David Luiz. There's a mistake in the Arsenal backline.
I mean, we do praise the Lord. We don't have Mustafi also.
Same thing with Cooper as well, you know. But Cooper is getting better, you know, and he's standing up a bit stronger, and he has been a lot better in the previous games. But I do think that if David Luiz plays at centre half tomorrow, I think Bamford's going to have a good day against him, because he did the exact same thing to Tim Cahill there in the last game against Crystal Palace, you know. Cahill there.
We're not going to pay £1 million for Mari, though, are we? So he's not going to be in contention to play.
Is he available again?
He's available, but we just don't have £1 million to pay.
Yeah, do you know what? There's something funny, Paul. I don't know if you're aware of the going on here. There's talk going on. Pablo Mari, who finally got over his injury and came into the team. He played 4 games on the bounce, and we won every game. And himself and Holding, they looked like they were forming a nice, solid partnership. Now, he picked up a muscle injury, so he was supposed to be out for a game, maybe 2. But this is in and around when he's hit 9 appearances for us. And part of his deal with Arsenal Flamengo is for every 10 appearances, we owe, I think it's 900,000, or it could be 900,000 euro. It's £1 million, thereabouts, whatever it is. So since he's about to hit this first £1 million installment, he's suddenly been out injured the whole time. And we've seen pictures of him, and he's been back training and that, but he still hasn't made it back onto the pitch yet. And this was the talk we were saying, maybe we're getting through January, see who we clear off the books, jokingly saying, now then we can afford to play him again. But he's still not back on the pitch. And you're starting to think, Arsenal being Arsenal, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that maybe that's what's going on.
It's crazy that's even in his clause in the first place, like that you agreed to that. Like, because if you agreed to it, just you're going to have to play him and pay whatever. You can't just be, play him 9 games and then.
It kind of, I know, it makes you wonder about the overall quality of a player, how much they rate him, that they're saying, well, look, if he hits 10 appearances, we'll pay you $1 million. It's sort of saying, like, it should be a given that it's like, we're signing this guy to play in our defence. He's definitely going to hit 10 appearances. You know, when I see a clause like that, I sort of go, what's the thinking behind this?
Bit of a weird one. Is that across his full contract every 10 games? Or is it just the first 10 games?
Every 10 up to, I think what we did was we paid 4 million, and I think the deal goes up to 12 million. So I think we paid.
Okay, so
I think it's 8 million or something for every 10. And there's Russ having a go at me for throwing my conspiracy theories around. It's what I do. It's what I do. But look, Pat's saying there, Bamford the top player, and look, Squidge. You know Bamford obviously being a Chelsea.
He came through with Chelsea. All right, he's like Bamford's got so much grief down through the years because as Paul said earlier, like he needs about 10 chances to score in a game, but he's really come to his own. I really admire his work rate. He's up front there on his own. He does a lot of work for Leeds, in my opinion. And he's getting the goals this year. The hat-trick he scored this year, the second goal where there was 4 around him in the box, he got it out of his feet and scored a cracker.
Yeah, against Villa.
Yeah. That was a great goal, and he seems to be kind of coming of age. I know he's like, what is he, 28, 29 now, but he seems to actually be. He looks a Premier League player, and I'm delighted for him. To tell you the truth.
In fairness to them all, they're all looking like Premier League players. There's Luke Ayling, one of your own. Luke Ayling came through your own Arsenal school. And he's having a fantastic season with us. And he's been a bargain buy, something like 600,000 from Bristol. Like, what an absolute,
great player.
And he's been a great servant to the club. Misses very little games through injuries. He's out on the and he does get kicked about a lot. He's another great player. He's having another fantastic season. Another player involved in a lot of goals we score.
Yeah. I think with Bielsa at Leeds, I think the players actually, when they seen Bielsa coming into Leeds, a lot of average players, they seen it as an opportunity that here, this guy he's world class. He's a world class coach. I'm going to make the most of it, and a lot of them did. A lot of them went from average up to good players under Bielsa, and Luke Ayling's.
Yeah. As I said to you earlier on, I think what happens there is that the amount of coaches he's actually brought in with him.
Yeah.
And they're all working with different players, there's 6 coaches at Elland Road, like there's 6 coaches there, not alone, and they're working with 20 or 30 or 40 players, 5 players to each coach, and that's the difference. That's what's bringing these players up. And as you said, they have the fitness to last 90, 95 minutes. It doesn't matter,
Well, that's the difference as well, isn't it? Sometimes if you have players that are fit to run for 95 minutes, they can play extra time. That's gonna outdo the talented players that just don't have the engine. That the hard work is always going to outdo the talent in the end.
Yeah, I think Klitsch in our midfield doesn't get the credit he deserves either.
It's very good.
A great ball winner. He's a great ball winner, I know there's a lot of fans on his back at the minute saying, he looks tired and he looks this and he looks that. that man could play at a higher level with a better club. Like he could play in the middle of Liverpool. He could play in the middle of Manchester United's midfield. He is a lovely player, and he has the trickery. He has everything in his locker. He just, but a lot of people forget that your central midfield is the hardest working area of any football 11. Your central midfield. It's.
I think Paul might have frozen there. We'll try to get him back. But as you were saying there about Klitsch, again, like hardest working, and it is a position, as Arsenal fans, our biggest, I think, criticism of our own centre midfield was there's just no end product. And if you compare even Klitsch there, he's got 5 assists this season. He's up there with Bamford. They're both top of the charts for Leeds in terms of assists. Yeah, that's what we're missing. So, like I said, Thomas Partey's on a different level. The biggest problem is now Thomas Partey's out. I think Thomas Partey, it's such a big loss for us. You can be.
I am going to be a Xhaka supporter for a second, because I do think he does deserve a bit of credit going into the run of eight games that we've had. I believe it was against when he put Lacazette through in the first minute or something. Like some of the cutting edge passes that he's made, his passing has really come along. And the one thing I'm hoping to see now is that being alongside a Partey for a few games, he's picked up a few things, because I feel like he is a Partey-like player. I'm not saying he's as good as Partey, but he's one of those destructive midfielders who likes to get onto tackles and that sort of hard man to stop things. And I hope he's learned the little clever ways that Partey does it. And obviously we know he's never going to run with the ball. I don't want him doing that, because I think that's where his passing's really excelled. And I think he's going to be all right, but I think it's going to be who he's put alongside that's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
Do you think Martin Odegaard, where's he going to eventually slot in if he does get into the side?
I think he's going to start tomorrow. I think Smith Rowe is going to get a rest tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for the rest of the season. Let's say, just do you think he's the answer? Do you think he?
Is this
how good is he?
Odegaard's brilliant.
Yeah, he is.
I've seen him at Real Sociedad as well, and obviously parts of his Real Madrid youth as well. And the thing with what people don't realize about Odegaard, what speaks volumes about him is if Real Madrid are scared to loan him out to another La Liga side because of how good he can make a team, just screams volumes at the levels he can bring a team to. The thing with him, he's got the abilities to just fire in any league and any team, because he's not one of those players that relies on certain aspects of his game. He's got a brilliant passing range. He's got a good shot on the ground or over the top in the air balls. He's got a lot of skills, like a bag full of flair. And he's one of those players that he doesn't rely on the pace aspect of his game. He's got an IQ. He's got a really, really good footballing IQ.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see him play. I think you were asking there, Squidge, about where does he fit in. I think the thing is, we know at the moment that Smith Rowe, he's our player. He's the one we want.
I've been very impressed by Smith Rowe so far this season. I have to say,
great, but at the same time, look, he's still a young player. He's still going to make mistakes. He's still going to suffer fatigue. He can't be 10 out of 10 every single week, week in, week out. And look what's happened to Bukayo Saka. Lads are starting to say, look, this guy is good. Let's just kick him off the park. Look at him against Aston Villa in the last game. They just even, I think Enda said it earlier, the Leeds boot boys are going to get him tomorrow, and you can see that is what starts to happen. They start to target certain players. They go, this is the area where they can hurt us. So let's hurt him before he gets a chance. So that's going to start happening to Smith Rowe as well. He's going to be targeted more and more. So it's great to have that option of a player as good, if not technically.
100%. 100%. I think
the other thing that we're really in the sort of doesn't favour us the fact that we've got to play Benfica midweek, and then we've got City 3 days after, rather than the sort of 4 days that you tend to get.
But, that's it. We've a rough schedule. I think Paul is back with us.
Hey.
I was just chatting away there, and the next thing, everything went blank. There's a fella outside the window looking in with binos there, sitting on the blue stool. Cut the power.
Spygate.
Yeah. It's only a new laptop, and it was fully charged, so I don't know how it died. So
It happens.
Yeah, I'm after connecting up to the electricity there. The mouse is running around the wheel now.
I forgot to put money in the meter. I often do it myself. Yeah. So I'll throw that with you there, Matt there from AFC Red Room. Xhaka has done well last few games, but Partey raises Xhaka's performance when they play together. You agree with that?
But you know what it is? There's two parts of the pitch, right, that work on partnerships. That is centre backs and midfielders.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to play a double pivot. That's why when you see even the likes of like United, the reason why they're so good is because every midfield is a partnership. You've got McFred, you've got the likes of Pogba. Pogba's not even getting into the midfield, and he's a world-class player. He's having to come onto the right-hand side of their sort of attacking threat just to get game time. That's why I do think, obviously, when you talk about Xhaka and Partey, of course that's going to be the case. Look at Xhaka at Switzerland, for example, and he's got Zakaria next to him. You need to have players who don't have the ability you do, because not every player in modern day football has everything going for them. Or very little players have that going for them.
I don't rate Xhaka myself, but I have to say, since Partey came into the side, Xhaka looks he looks better. He definitely looks better.
Yeah. Oh, look, that is what happens, though. Obviously, you have average players, and then you put a world-class player beside them. Their game is going to raise. They're going to raise the game of everybody around them. And we've seen in the past, I always use the example of Kolo Touré was a brilliant defender, but when you put him beside Sol Campbell, he was a brilliant defender. You stick him next to William Gallas, he became David Luiz, so...
Same as Kurt Zouma for Chelsea at the minute. I think he's the exact same thing. I think if you put him beside a world-class defender, he's as good as there is, but he's a bit headless. He needs a leader beside him or something like that.
Exactly. And I think, again, this is something that I've noticed this season, Rob Holding, you stick Rob Holding beside Pablo Mari, and he looked a different defender. And as good as Gabriel looks, and as much as I like Gabriel and Holding just don't seem to work at the moment.
They're too rash. Two rash players that just don't really have the calmness to their game.
So I would fear, and I said this going into the Aston Villa game, that's what I was concerned about. I was concerned about Holding and Gabriel playing. And if it is those two again tomorrow, I would fear for what Patrick Bamford could potentially do.
Hopefully.
I mean, 12 goals, 5 assists for Paddy Bamford.
Yeah.
He can do.
Yeah.
I can see Leeds win tomorrow. That's I think 2-1 Leeds.
I think under Bielsa, London hasn't been a happy hunting ground for us, even in the Championship.
Yeah.
If you check all our results, go back to London. Jesus, even Millwall could beat us.
Bielsa's gotten us over. The last 2 games he's drew, and we lost to them. So we've not really got a good record against Bielsa at the minute.
Well, I think the Cup game, January last year, I think Anthony Taylor must have come out in his Arsenal shirt that day, You could have had 2 players. When you kick a player to the ground, right in front of the referee, and he goes to VAR, and the VAR is Kevin Friend. I think more referees than Mike Dean should get a kick in the bollocks, to be honest with you, in that Premiership,
Oh, yeah. Craig Pawson for one.
Oh, we did a video about Mike Dean there a couple of days ago. Jesus Christ. He's a bit of he loves the headline, so he does.
But that's been around since Graham Poole era, Graham Poole kind of introduced that to English football, the game's all about me.
Yeah.
And that's been allowed to English football,
Plattenberg was another big one.
Yeah, I used to point that a lot. Would you remember Jeff Winter?
Yes.
I used to point that out, and I could be wrong, but I think it was Jeff Winter refed a Leeds Arsenal game, and didn't he allow Ian Hart to take a real quick free kick?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, he got us back.
What was going on.
He got us back against Bolton in 2004. He's the man that relegated us in Bolton, the Reebok. I'm nearly certain Jeff Winter.
Jeff Winter.
He I was at that game. and we Bolton should have had the player sent off inside the first 10 minutes, and then he ended up sending off Mark Viduka. We were 1-0 up after a penalty scored by Alan Smith, and the referee destroyed us that game. He sent off Viduka for retaliating on a defender that should have been on a double yellow. But having said that, when you look, I say this a lot in England. The only part of English football that's totally English is the referees, and they're absolutely rubbish. There's a reason. And if you look at it, lads, like it's 3 years since the last World Cup. No English referee went to the World Cup.
100%. I agree with you there.
And like you have to say there's something seriously wrong with a man sitting up, looking at a video, reviewing a foul or penalty 3 or 4 times, and every fan is sitting there, oh, that's a dive, and then it's penalty, And there was a study there done before Christmas. I don't know if you've seen it about the 33 Manchester United penalties. The penalties given to Manchester United against the penalties given to other teams. And when they balanced it out, if the referees did their job right and VAR did their job right, only 13 of them were penalties. The rest weren't. Look at Martial 2 weeks ago. A blatant dive, penalty.
Yeah.
Do you know what annoyed me about that one? Is the fact that when we look at
David Luiz's.
When we had a penalty, the referee didn't even go to the screen. And then the very next match, they go and look at it 10 million times and still make the wrong decision.
Yeah. How he sent Bednarek off that time? I can see why it was a penalty. I think Martial dived, but I can see why it was given as a penalty. But how you send him off is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look at the English and English football aren't the best at it themselves.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the game, like you look at the championship now, lads. Look at the amount of foreign managers in the championship. Look at the amount of English managers that's in the Premiership. And I'm like, while I agree with their coaching philosophies, I did the coaching badges here myself, and we're taught the exact same stuff that comes from the English FA. And it's paradise football. It's width and depth. That's what it's got. And like at some stage you have to come away from that, So like I don't want to take away from tomorrow's game by talking this kind of nonsense to you. But once again, we're talking about referees and we're talking about VAR. There's no doubt this could come into the game tomorrow. We could see something there, And like Bamford there earlier on in the season with the hand was offside,
That was ridiculous.
It's the rules, and unfortunately you have to do it,
I know, but you're told growing up, like, point where you want the ball. And you can't score with your hand. So how is it offside? Like,
it doesn't matter whether you can score with your hand. It's part of your body, So if part of your body is offside, you're offside. But like one time offside was once upon a time full time offside was if you were fully standing behind the defender and there was there but you in the goal. That's offside, and that should be left at offside. You see the leg of your shorts is behind the defender. You're offside. Well, that's a bit crazy.
It's too specific. It's far too specific now, and I think wasn't it Arsene Wenger that I think was looking for. He was looking for something called the daylight rule, where there's got to be clear daylight between.
That should be the way. If you're offside, you're offside.
But the advantage now with VAR is going with the defender, and realistically, it should be going with the attacker because fans want to see goals. There should be more goals in the game. Give the attacker the advantage, not the defender. We're taking goals out of the game as opposed to putting them into the game.
To be honest, I think they should just scrap the lines, and if you can visually see offside, that's how it should be given, not with all these lines and intricacies.
It wrecks my head.
Yeah.
You're on it. That's exactly it. It should be visually seen that you're offside.
But it's meant to be clear and obvious, but it takes them about a minute and a half to decide whether it's offside or not. So clearly, that's not clear and obvious. No. So if it's not clear and obvious, then to give the attacker the advantage.
Yeah.
It's
we'll more likely see it tomorrow.
100%. And I hate the fact that nearly most game now is being analysed. We go to VAR first. The first thing that's talked about is VAR. It wrecks my head to tell you the truth.
It seems to be creeping into every single game. Like, there doesn't seem to be a game that goes by that there isn't in some way controversial, to do with VAR, and it's just become a bit too much now at this stage. For something that was in to improve the game, it's done anything but, in my eyes.
Do you know what the problem is? If you look at foreign football, if you look at even La Liga or Serie A, for example, we don't hear the controversies of VAR as much as we do in England. The problem is the people abroad actually have something called common sense, and they actually implement the rules to what it actually should be, rather than some stupid loopholes into justifying their decision. And the fact is, the referees in European football know that they're going to be accountable for any mistakes being made. Here, they'll go home, come back, and ref again.
I agree with you 100%.
100%. That's the thing, you see. The English referees have nobody to answer to. They don't have to answer to anybody. They can do what they want,
we talked about this.
Once again, that goes back to the Graham Paul era. He made a celebrity of himself out on the football pitch, and now you have many more doing it. Even you can see the way to talk to players. I'm the boss, and that's it. Well, I'm sorry, you're not the boss. You're not the boss.
How can rugby get it so right and soccer get it so wrong? Like, if there's
again, it's down to the referees themselves. They don't have anybody to answer to. Okay, look at the Irish game last week against Wales, right? Who in their right mind puts Wayne Barnes onto a pitch with Ireland and Wales? Will Ireland ever beat Wales as long as Wayne Barnes is on that pitch? No, they won't.
But just in terms of, like, let's say VAR or do you know the way? Like, why can't we hear what the ref is saying to the person in VAR? It would make it we still mightn't agree with his decision, but we know how he came to that decision, which is it's a no-brainer.
I suggested they need to do a press conference at the end of the game, just like a manager would, for certain decisions being made.
Yeah, but you see, they're a protected species, so they don't have to do anything. And that's what's wrong with football. For me, and this is the one thing I would say, they need to introduce foreign referees into English football. Fellas that have no bias. Like Anthony Taylor from Greater Manchester says he doesn't support Manchester United. But look, come on. You're not from Manchester and you don't support Manchester United. I saw him screw Manchester City over 2 seasons ago in a cup match against Wigan. Anthony Taylor, I'm not a Man U fan. Like, forget about it, lads. Come on. Like, I know of a particular referee, and you all know him yourself. He was engaged to a Leeds fan. Like, Leeds only lost one game when he reffed them back before we were relegated. So.
I never really thought about bringing foreign managers or foreign referees into England, but it's definitely something that we need to look into.
Oh yeah,
just so they can't be biased, like.
Yeah, but there, as Matt's saying, like they've never had so many tools to help them get it right, yet they're seemingly getting it wrong more often than ever.
But there's another thing in it as well. There's one thing getting it wrong. It's another thing blatantly cheating, and that's effectively what you're doing. Good afternoon, lads. But there's another thing, like favouring like a Manchester United or a Manchester City or something like that. You can't see it in front of a line of cameras and watch a fella blatantly dive and say that's a penalty. There's no way. That's cheating. If you do that, that's
the rules have to change as well, though, because like if like let's say Salah, for example, if Salah doesn't go down, he definitely won't get the penalty. But if he goes down, if there's minimal contact and he goes down, there's a good chance now with VAR, by the way they look at it in slow motion and about 10 times, there's a good chance the penalty is going to be given. So it's actually enticing players to go down.
That happened to us against Chelsea this season, where Rafinha didn't go down. And they all said, even commentary said, if he goes down, it's a penalty.
Exactly. I made this point. The young lad Paveda as well. It happened to Paveda as well. I made this point a couple of times. Yeah. He didn't go down, and he's not getting a reward for staying up.
Yeah.
Whereas if he goes down, it's more than likely going to be a penalty.
Yeah. So look, maybe we'll go back to the game preview. I'm sure. Well, we'll probably be getting you back on after the game, and we'll probably be discussing an absolute balls of a decision made by the referee and VAR. But just gonna kind of look at the form guide coming into this one. As you were saying, Leeds are ahead of Arsenal on the table. Leeds 10th, Arsenal 11th. There's only a point in it, but Leeds have a game in hand. Now, one off the last 4 games. So Leeds beat Newcastle 2-1. They beat Leicester 3-1. They lost 2-1 to Everton, and then they beat Palace 2-0. Now, Sulz, we're coming off the back of a 3-1 win against Southampton, a 0-0 draw against you, a 2-1 loss against Wolves, and a 1-0 loss against Villa. So I definitely think Leeds are the form team coming into this one.
We are, but as I said, London isn't a happy hunting ground for us.
No, definitely not. No, in fairness, the only thing we have going for us, I think in the last 8 games we've against Leeds, now I think 5 of them were FA Cup games, but we've got 6 wins and 2 draws. So if you're going off of previous form,
you can't really go off previous form because Leeds were down in the Championship and League One and stuff like that. So
exactly.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think we can beat them as long as we don't have individual mistakes within us. Like if Cedric didn't do what he did, and then obviously Wolves, we know what happened with Wolves, the reason why we lost that. Otherwise, we'd be looking at an informed team here. So
yeah, well, look, I'm hoping Pepe shows up to play this time. He doesn't make the same mistake that he made against Leeds the last time.
He's coming for him, he's coming for Alioski.
Yeah.
Look, our piece at the minute is that we have a good keeper, Meslier.
Very good. Yeah, very good.
Be one of the finds of the Premiership as well this season,
Yeah,
great.
Shot stopper, and he's not afraid to come for a ball, Now there's the odd mistake in him, and he's been punished for it. And
well, every keeper has the odd mistake in them. He's only young, you know what I mean? That's going to happen.
Like, tomorrow, he could be the difference between both teams tomorrow as well,
Yeah.
He is,
He's probably, on form at the minute, he's probably the best keeper in the Premier League.
Well, look at it this way. Like, if Arsenal are really going to attack Leeds, like, the best way to beat us is from set plays because we don't defend set plays,
Yeah.
We're all into zonal marking, and the amount of goals we have conceded from set plays. Now, the thing is, do you have a defender that's tall enough to get above us to finish a corner?
Only Gabriel.
Yeah, Gabriel.
But there's your target.
Yeah, and to be fair, Rob Holding is long overdue a goal. He seems to win a lot. He just can't convert anything. I know he's been saying it for weeks. We're giving predictions on different shows. And every week I'm saying, you know what? This is Rob Holding's week. This is his week. I'm going to stick by that prediction. If he plays tomorrow, I'm putting it out there again. I'm sticking by my man. It's Rob Holding's week. He's finally going to score a goal. Fingers crossed.
I think Klitsch is due a goal as well. I think Klitsch is due a goal. But hopefully David Lewis is playing tomorrow and Bamford has a field day.
Well, I think Bamford will win a penalty. Klitsch takes the penalties, doesn't he?
Well, the Bamford has taken the last one as well, so he's taken one already this season.
Is that because our Klitsch wasn't on the pitch though? I don't think, was he?
You could be right there, but Klitsch is generally the penalty taker, but he's a funny way of taking a penalty,
Yeah, I know, but you stick with. Has he missed many penalties that he's taken?
Klitsch?
Many, yeah.
Both him and Bamford have missed quite a few, yeah.
All right. Think about swapping it over then.
Well, look, if David Luiz is back in the lineup tomorrow, they might get a bit of penalty practice out of us.
There was a game earlier on the season where Klitsch took a penalty and he missed it, and then it took about 5 minutes I think it was against Leicester, and it took about 5 minutes afterwards before we got the re-penalty taken again because the goalkeeper came off the line.
Right.
And it was spotted at home the second time,
Yeah.
Like, when you look at it, like, no penalty, no player should miss a penalty from 12 yards. Jesus, I've coached.
Not really, but it just shows what pressure does to a player, though.
Pressure.
I know. Look, I agree with you. No professional player should be missing, or the top players shouldn't be missing a penalty. But you see it happening all the time.
I know people that go on about professional footballers and pressure. Them fellas are under a lot of pressure. Them fellas, they have an easy life. They're not like you going in and out to work every day of the week and coming home.
But when I know there's no fans in the stadium now, but when the fans are in the stadium and you're stepping up and you can see a sea of like the opposition fans or your own fans, the pressure get you.
Well, believe it or not, this is what they're saying about Bamford, is that there's no fans in the ground. This is why he's scoring goals, because there's no fans in the ground,
Yeah,
But, like, there's no fans tomorrow on the ground. He doesn't score every game, and he's not involved every game,
Like, obviously, people can make that argument, but he's doing it on the pitch. You have to do it on the pitch, whether the fans are there or not.
Yeah, that's it. I think one of the things we have to watch tomorrow, I think we have to watch the runs of Bellerin. I think he's one of the players we have to watch coming out with the ball. I think we can't allow him to run with the ball. He's one of the players we cannot allow. I love watching Bellerin. I think he's one of the players we cannot allow.
This is why I love to have rival fans on the channel, and this is why I love to get perspective from rival fans, because I'd say, like myself and Sulz, again, I'd say we probably agree with this, and a lot of Arsenal fans, Bellerin gets an awful hard time, and I think a lot of time you can justify it, but like it's nice to hear from like appreciation for a player from a rival fan, because as I said, we know with Arsenal fans we can be tough. Like we're a tough crowd, put it that way. That's to put it nicely. So we do tend to scapegoat players. They've 2 or 3 bad performances, and suddenly they're the worst player in the league, and they should be sold. And you disregard them. It happens.
That's the world of social media now, because I think social media is part of the ruining of football, should I say? Because the minute like certain big people have a say on a player, it seems like everyone gets brainwashed into thinking, that's actually what the player is, rather than having their own opinion on the player.
Oh, 100%. It's even like when you listen to the pundits. Sometimes the pundits will make a point and it transform your whole view on what you just saw, and you're going, actually, he's right there, but you didn't think that for the 90 minutes until the guy said it, So influence,
But when you look at football in general, and you look at what Sky have done to football, everything is over-analysed anymore. Anything, everything is over-analysed anymore, because not alone you have the analysis after the game, it goes back into Monday morning. Then you have ref watch. Then you have 2 ex-players coming on, and they have to have their say in everything. And players are getting slated up by, like, you won't hear Dermot Gallagher coming out slating the referees.
Never.
You will hear the player coming out saying, well, this made a mistake and he was weak there and he was weak there, And once again, that transfers, as you say, into the mind of the fans,
100%. Look, you just need a guy that has a little bit of a following or a bit of a name to say something. Like Roy Keane or Michael Richards come out and say something, and we take it as gospel. It transforms your whole thinking. And like Sulz was saying, social media can destroy a guy. And we had it for a long time with Granit Xhaka, and I think it's only now that a lot of the fans, the more level-headed fans that are willing to see from different angles and perspectives, I think a lot of us are taking a back seat now, and we're kind of looking at
when that whole incident happened with the shirt throwing, I actually said, when you look at the grand scheme and context behind what happened leading up to that event, you can't blame the guy. At the end of the day, you are human at the end of the day.
I know, but you don't do it. You can't do it.
Because even if, like, I don't know whether it was actually Arsenal fans or anything, but if you're looking at your Twitter and you're getting death threats and your unborn child is like people wanting that your unborn child dead, what you're going to sit there and think, okay, and then on top of that, just to add the salt to the wound, to go and boo him coming off. What you're going to think? You're going to think, all right, these are the same people abusing me. If they didn't boo him on the pitch, but they cheered him, they'd have been like, actually, that may have not been the fans, and maybe it's just people on social media.
But like a lot of if you're a top player, you're going to get that attention and negative attention, and you're going to get the abuse online and social media, and you have to deal with it. You can't, as a player, you cannot take your jersey off and throw it on the ground. It's an insult to the fans, to the club, to everything.
Yeah,
that's true.
You know what? I don't like that mentality though, because I think it's both ways. How is it right for fans to sit there, right, in millions as well, and abuse like someone's family and threaten them to death?
Yeah.
But then it's not okay for one man to like just be a bit angry.
It's 100% wrong. But that's why footballers are on the money they're on. They need to be able to deal with stuff like this. Like they're on the big money.
I definitely don't agree with how he handled it. I don't agree with the reaction. But the fans, it's almost like the referees, like the fans are getting away scot-free. You know, it's the player then that gets criticised from all angles. And, you know, he shouldn't have done this and he shouldn't have done that. But no one's talking about like that. The fans, the 60,000 fans that were booing him on the day and the abuse he's getting. And at the end of the day, he's wearing the shirt representing their club. He's fighting for their team. Okay, look, he might not be doing the best job, you know, in a lot of people's eyes, but man, he's trying. He's only human, and if we were any better, it'd be us on the pitch at the end of the day instead of him.
I'll be honest, I probably would have done that in the situation. I probably would have got angry and probably took the shirt off and thrown it. And I'm saying that as an Arsenal fan. Because I did get frustration when it builds to that level. People react in different ways.
I can see why he did it. I can definitely see why he did it. But you can't do it. In my opinion, you can't do it. You're dishonoring the club badge or whatever. Do you know what I mean? He was. I think he was captain at the time. Was he captain at the time as well?
He was. Yeah. Oh,
you need to be. You need to take it on the chin. Go into the dressing room and break the dressing room up. But you can't do it on the pitch with him, public eye, like.
100%. See, Adam makes a good point there. Look, there's always a scapegoat. Even Bamford, when he wasn't scoring for a while in the championships, sometimes overall contributions can be overlooked because of obsession with stats. And like Paul, I'm sure appreciate that.
I say one thing about it. I was never Bamford's biggest fan. Never. Yeah. And like, as I said earlier, he needs a lot of chances to score goals. But I have a Leeds United page there on Facebook, the West of Ireland Leeds United supporters group. And I also have a group on WhatsApp there, you know. And a lot of the lads that travel over with me, you know. But however, as I do say, there's no point blaming one player. You win as a team and you lose as a team. All right? Like, you can't rely on one player. The great thing about Leeds United over the last 3 seasons is any amount of players in that team can score. You know, there's any amount of players. And every team is the same. You all have players that score from different positions, you know. So Bamford wasn't always a scapegoat, but he did get slagged off because he was missing so many chances. You know, I used to actually sing to him myself, you know, he's great from 6 inches. You know, he'll score from 6 inches. You know, I don't care what people think of it. You know, like if you're on 40 grand a week and you're there to score,
that's it. You have to be able to take the slagging on the chin.
Yes.
That's like you have to be able to take it on the chin. It's like you can't be coming off a pitch throwing the jersey on the ground.
There's an awful difference between slagging and going down the road of threatening an unborn child and things like that.
100%.
You know, you can have a joke with players. Like, I'd often have a good joke with Calvin Phillips there now when I'd meet him, you know, because Calvin lives around the corner from a friend that I used to stay with in Leeds, you know. Yeah. And there's often times I'd meet Calvin and what a great fella to meet and what a great fella to talk to. And I'd say the same for all Leeds players. They're all great to meet. They're all great to talk to, you know. They have to have their own private lives. And it's okay for us to support them in football, you know, and give them a bit of stick if they don't play well. But leave their families outside of it.
Because agreed.
I remember a good few years ago, after we were relegated, I remember we had a player there called Sean Gregan. And he wasn't the most gifted of players, but, you know, he gave 100%, you know. And like he was the typical hard tackling English footballer that people love, you know, that kind of game. And he came out after the game one day with his wife and child, and 2 or 3 Leeds fans started abusing him, you know. And I was the first one to step in and just say, stop, you know, what you're doing is wrong. They were right beside me, you know. And then Gregan retaliated. And he came over and he started mouthing at them, you know. And that made it worse, you know. Then security had to get involved, you know. But Sean shouldn't have reacted, you know. But at the same time, you know, he was defending his wife and child, you know.
It's awful hard. It's awful hard not to react. But the sad reality is that players, professional soccer players, are going to be. They're going to come up against this because with social media now, you have a fake name. And you can say whatever you want on a keyboard, and you're going to get no repercussions to you or done to you whatsoever. That's like, and it's just it's a sad part of the game, but it is part of the game now, and that's.
It's like the Assemble says there. It works both ways now. He says the standard of modern society, and that works both for us lads. It's easy for us to sit here and criticize from the safety of our room and behind the keyboard, and that it's a different story for a player. Like I said, and he's out in the middle of a pitch and there's 60,000 lads.
Like we'll play Arsenal tomorrow, right? And we played Man U, like you said earlier, and they beat us 6-2, right? But when you look at that overall game against Man U, right? Bamford missed 2 sitters, and so did Jack Harrison. That game could very well have ended up 6-0, right?
Yeah, that was a cracker of a game.
There's no point coming out then at the end of the game, fuck Bamford and fuck Harrison and fuck this and fuck that. Sorry for that. It's win as a team, lose as a team. My whole motto always in football was managers, players come and go. What's left is the fans, Now, you were very fortunate back in the days of you had Bergkamp and Perez and Henry, and then you had Wenger managing them. And you had a fabulous team with, everything was going for you. You were scoring fabulous goals and everything. But now, you're with a current manager, and to be honest with you, I don't think he's fit for the job, to be honest with you. I cannot see Arteta succeeding with Arsenal, and you need to step up to a higher level if you want to get back to where Wenger had been. The players are there.
Yeah.
As you know yourself, what's the problem with Arsenal? One day you come out, you're sublime. Another day you come out, and you're terrible.
That seemed to be a theme of Arsenal for a long time, because even under Arsene Wenger, you knew the potential was there. We could come out and absolutely blow the other team off the park, and we could win by 3-4 clear goals, or else we could lose 1-0. We could have 20 shots on goal, and we can see the scrappy one and lose it. You just never know, and that just
that could be tomorrow's game you're talking about there. It could all be the same for us as well. The sloppy goal. That we'd be all out attack and hammered knee like Everton, but the ball just went late, and then before you know it, you're 2-0 down.
But even going back to the previous meeting between Arsenal and Leeds, the 0-0 draw. Now, Leeds had 4 shots on target that day. We had 2, but Leeds had 25 chances. 25. That game could have been 4-0 to Leeds.
And that's the thing.
We have to
we have to finish our chances.
We were outpassed. I think Leeds had over 600 passes to our 300 odd. We were outpassed. We were outshot on goal. All Leeds were missing was putting the ball in the back of the net, and it was just one of those days. I think luck was a little bit on our side, and sometimes you need those days. Now I'm hoping for a bit more of an even affair tomorrow, but at the same time, I don't mind Leeds having 30-40 shots on goal as long as we scrape a 1-0 win. So I'll take it,
And London isn't our happy hunting ground.
That's it. But look, before we wrap it up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around to everyone, and I'm just going to get a score prediction. Let me know how you think it's going to go. So, Squidge, you're the outside man. I'll start with you.
2-1 Leeds, and someone to score a penalty.
That's probably going to be Leeds, because especially when Louise plays.
Louise is playing. We got 2 penalties.
If Dom Louise is playing, it could be 4-1 Leeds. So, Sulz, what do you think?
I think if we don't rest any players, I'm going to stick with my gut and say 3-1. But if we do prioritise the Europa League, which is what I believe we're going to do, I believe it's going to be... I think Leeds will score, so I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. And Paul?
I'm doing the reverse. 2-1 Leeds. My heart rule my head here, you have to. Only because I'm
going to go for the 1-0 Arsenal, right? I'm going to say Rob Holding, scrappy goal from a corner.
You're not asking much at that, are you?
This week, I'm telling you, the ball's it's going to be one of those where the ball comes in, he's going to, trip over David Luiz or something. It'll just win off of his horse. I don't know.
I think Rich is due a goal. And if you sit back off him tomorrow and he gets the shot, I think he'll get the goal. You know?
Yeah.
I think he'll goal.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's the right place to do it.
Yeah, lovely. Well, lads, look, that was absolutely brilliant. So, look, I just want to say, first of all, a big thanks to everybody on the panel. You were absolutely unbelievable, and we'll definitely have to do it again. Maybe we have a few controversial VAR decisions. We'll have to come back and talk about this again next week. And just for everybody that was in the chats, remember to like and comment. I really appreciate all the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel. So big up everyone in the chats. Really, really appreciate the support. And lads, before we go, Paul, do you want to give yourself a shout out there? You have a Facebook page.
I have the Facebook page there for Leeds United fans. It's West of Ireland Leeds United Supporters Group. We have we've been going for it since 2009. Oh. We have over 7,000 members on it, and we keep you up to date with everything that's happening.
I'm nearly sure a couple of my friends went on a few trips with you, if I'm not mistaken. Aidan Coyne and Kenneth Coyne from Ballinasloe. Aidan
Coyne was on with me with his dad there a few weeks ago.
He's a really good friend of mine. He's the reason I have a soft spot for Leeds.
Yeah, I run all the bus trips over from Galway.
I was thinking that right. Aidan Coyne does be I go to the Leeds games with Aidan. He gets me the ticket. Yeah.
I got you tickets for. I get the tickets for Aidan.
Yeah, you get me the tickets. So this is mad.
There you go. These lads, it's a small world. Small world.
Fans helping Arsenal, Chelsea fans out throughout their career.
I can't wait to tell Aidan now. He'll be delighted I was chatting there.
I'll chat to Aidan now in a while.
Yeah, tell him about Squidger. Yeah.
He's back the road here from me, and he comes to the games as well. You know, the Coins are all big Leeds fans, all in Ballinasloe.
Big Leeds fans, yeah,
massive Leeds fans. Yeah.
And Sulz, my fellow Gooner, give yourself a shout out there. Let people know about your channel.
Yeah, so you can find me at Gooner Sulz on Twitter. Obviously, the @ actually Leicester Bay Footy, and you can find me at Gooner Sulz on YouTube. I've started a podcast, which episode 1 has been live for about a week now. It's Gooner Thoughts, everything Arsenal, match reviews, match previews, and just all controversial stuff as well. We're talking about absolutely anything to do with Arsenal, and it's all hands-on, free. You can speak how you want, and whatever you want to say goes.
Love it. And what about you, Squidge? Where can people Squidge, man?
You can find myself and Anthony have another football channel where we basically just talk everything football. And there's I'm a Chelsea's fan. Anto's an Arsenal fan, and we've Cahill as well, who's a United fan. So we have a good bit of it covered. It's Republic of Football. You'll find us at. So like and subscribe, please.
Hey, love it, love the plug. And lads, Paul and Sulz, thanks so much for giving us the time today. I really appreciate it. It was brilliant. And look, we'll definitely get you back on, whether it's either on this channel or like that, the Republic of Football. You can join us, and we just talk anything football related. So you're definitely more than welcome. So again, 100%. Shout out to everybody in the chats. Thanks for the support as always, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks a million.